In this video, we're going to discuss the range of exponential functions. The range, you might remember, are all y values that function will ever take on. Let's look at question number 19 from the January 2016 Regent. The range of a function defined as y is equal to 5 to the x is. The easiest way to find the range is always to graph it on your calculator and see what are all of the y values the function will take on. So we're going to graph y is equal to 5 to the x and zoom 6 for zoom standard. And we have our function there. Notice in quadrant 2, it looks like the graph is coming towards the x-axis and it eventually touches the x-axis and maybe it crosses it further on. You have to be able to recognize that with exponential functions, they're always asymptotic to something. Asymptotic means that it gets infinitely close to some line and it will never cross it. This function is asymptotic to the x-axis, which means that it gets very, 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 very close to the line y is equal to 0, but it's never ever going to cross y is equal to 0, and it will never even touch y is equal to 0. Therefore, the range of this function is everything that is greater than 0. It's not everything that's greater than or equal to 0, because this graph will never actually, this graph doesn't look like this. It looks more like that. It gets very, very, very close as it goes on. It keeps on getting closer and closer and closer and closer, but it's never ever going to actually touch that x-axis, so y will never be equal to 0 in this function. Not all exponential functions will be asymptotic to the x-axis. All exponential functions will be asymptotic to some line. You could have an exponential function that is asymptotic to the line y is equal to 3. This is the line y is equal to 3. You could have an exponential function that will look like this. It gets infinitely close to that line, but it will never touch it. Let's look at a graph like that. Let's look at y is equal to 5 to the x plus 3. And zoom 6 for zoom standard. Notice that, let's graph line y is equal to 3 also, just so we can see that. Y is equal to 3 and zoom 6. So the red line is y is equal to 3. It looks like the blue line eventually touches the red line. But what you can see is that it gets so close to the red line, but it's never ever going to actually touch that red line.